Kathy, are you? Okay. As we get other people joining, we don't have any background noise. And we'll get started at 7 o'clock. Okay, hi everybody. Welcome. This is, let me make that silent so we don't hear that again. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm really excited to tell you guys some new things that are coming to Pura Vida, and also to kind of go over our second Women in Wellness session. We're doing some webinars, trying to do them every single month to really kind of help us as a community be healthier overall, but more importantly, at this time of the year, I think we have a lot of reasons to do that. So I'm going to start the presentation now, and hopefully I will talk a little bit about how to use the chat box, and that's going to be the easiest way for us to communicate. I'm going to have everybody muted just so we don't have the background noise and so forth. And so use the chat box if you need to talk with me right away. Otherwise, we're going to just leave everybody in mute until the end of the session, okay? So with that said, I'm going to get my PowerPoint slide pulled up here, and we're going to get started. This is me and Brittany, as you can see, and so you guys have not met Brittany yet. I know that because she's that new to us, but we wanted to welcome her, and she's our new nurse practitioner, and we're excited to have her, and she's going to be very much the face of the things we're talking about tonight. But you'll have to put up with me one more time doing this session because she has not done a PowerPoint with us before, so we want to make sure that she is comfortable with that before she starts doing it. And I think I just realized, so I need to share my screen with you guys, which I didn't do. So 1 second here. Apologize. Okay. So you guys should be able to see my screen. And this PowerPoint slide. Phyllis, since you have joined us before, can you just unmute? You can just confirm that you can see that PowerPoint slide.
I see it.
Perfect. Okay, wonderful. All right, so with that, we are going to get started. So again, this is Brittany. That's who I was referencing that you couldn't see just a moment ago. She's here with me tonight, and this is Brittany.
Hey, everyone.
So she'll be fielding any questions probably at the end, either whether I can't answer it or if it's more appropriate for her to answer. So with that being said, let's just roll right into what we're going to be talking about tonight. We've already talked about kind of the etiquette of using the chat box. There's the little chat button. It looks just like this little guy right here. So if you need to chat with us, just put something in the chat box. Otherwise, we're going to unmute and talk at the end. Also, be sure to stay to the end if you can, because there will be free gifts. And if you cannot, it's okay. You will get a recorded version after the fact. So let's talk about why we need to lose weight right now. I think losing weight right now is more important than ever. It's always been important. We know that health is directly related to our weight. If we improve our health right now, we're looking at things that can reduce blood pressure, reduce cholesterol, reduce the risk of heart disease, reduce diabetes, and even improve sleep. And all of those things happen very quickly upon losing weight. And if you've ever yo-yoed at all, you know when you lose that weight that you're carrying around, that 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 pounds that you shouldn't have on you, you know, when you lose it, you always feel more energetic. You just feel better. Your clothes feel better on you. You're more confident. But here's the thing that's so relevant right now. And those of you that know me personally know I'm not a big throw up the alert signals, but I think losing weight right now, it's important for us to correlate that to the risk around flu, pneumonia, and yes, COVID. If you have looked or heard about anything with regard to risk and the severity of your illness should you get COVID, the severity of your illness is directly correlated to your health going into it. So not only immune system, which we're going to talk about, but your blood pressure, your heart, being diabetic or not, and particularly being overweight. So I think the conversation is super important right now, and that's why we wanted to cover it again. We did this part of this webinar that we're doing tonight, the first part, we did it about a month ago, but we're probably going to do this a few more times until we get to a place where we feel like we've really educated everybody well enough. So flu season, the most significant risk factor for being hospitalized with COVID-19 infection for people under the age of 60 is obesity. So we're hearing more and more in the news, right, that people are being affected by this who are younger. At first, it seemed like it was, more of an old person problem. And we're seeing now that, it's affecting a lot of people, including the younger people. And so these are all the different various illnesses and things. So even age alone is a higher risk factor should you contract the COVID virus. So we wanted to look at this not just from a weight loss, but we're spending a lot of time on that today because of the importance of it. But we wanted to look at this as how can we here at Pura Vida help our community to be healthier and to walk through this better. So if we get sick, can we get well faster and easier and without a hospitalization? So this is according to the CDC. I didn't make it up. And so this is a quote from the CDC that people who are obese and or who have diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, kidney disease, lung disease are a much higher risk of death if they get infected by COVID. So what does obesity mean? That's probably sometimes a word that we don't like to hear, particularly if we're thinking about ourselves. We'd rather just call ourselves overweight. But the reality of it is obesity does have a definition, and that definition is a BMI over 25. Here we talk about a BMI over 30 being a major increased risk for breathing problems like a respiratory distress syndrome. And this happens with patients who get the regular flu. So while we're focusing a little bit on COVID, don't be mistaken. The regular flu is deadly if you have these other complications on board. You hear the word comorbidity thrown around in the news quite a bit. If you're a non-medical person, you may not fully understand what comorbid means, but that's what it means. If you have these other conditions, you are at much higher risk. So included in this PowerPoint slide, which anybody can have after the webinar is complete, I'm happy to share this slide deck if you want to be able to click any of the links easily. But we actually have a BMI calculator right on our website. So if you go to our weight loss page on our website, you can actually use our calculator. It's very simple. You put in your height and weight, and it's going to give you back what your BMI actually is. So if you know you're not at your ideal weight, but you don't know what that really means, I encourage you to go out there and click on that calculator and see where you rate. So you can calculate the BMI, and then at the bottom below it, it'll actually tell you what the interpretation is. So anything from being underweight to being what would be morbidly obese. So it goes from all the extremes there. So do that, take the time to do it and see where you stand. So, here's the couple of things that we want to talk about, right? So losing weight, which we're going to go into in great detail. That's one way where you can assess your risk around COVID and flu, all right? The other thing you need to do is make sure that you've had a physical recently. Make sure that if you don't have a primary care physician, and a lot of us don't, we've packed on the extra 20, 30 pounds, but we really haven't had a reason to go to the doctor. Well, don't wait, go get your annual physical and look, and they're going to look for those things that I call the silent illness or the silent diseases, things like hypertension. Most of the time people don't even know they have hypertension. It's silent but deadly. It can really wreak havoc on your vascular system in addition to your heart, and you may not even know it. So you need to have that done. Check your blood pressure at home, for goodness sakes, if nothing else, right? Diabetes can be very silent. People develop type 2 diabetes, often related to weight and wrong food choices as well, but it's usually weight related, particularly as we age. And if you've developed type 2 diabetes, you may not know it. You may not even feel it. Without having lab work, you're not going to know. Heart disease and even COPD. So if you've smoked in the past or you've had exposure in your workplace, a lot of times you start to develop COPD and you really just think, hey, I get winded going up the stairs because I'm getting older, and it may not be. So if you have not seen a doctor, do it. This is a great time to get a good checkup, okay? And then one of the things we'll talk about a little bit later is there is a way to check your immune system. And your immune system, basically, in the shortest way I can tell you, is directly correlated to how your micronutrients are in your body. So we're going to go into some detail in the second half of the presentation about that, but that's a testing that can be done. You cannot get that type of testing at your regular MD's office. They don't do it. So we'll explain why that is and what it is at the end, but just keep that in the back of your mind that there is a way to sort of diagnose your immune system health. And so we'll talk more about that. So this is a super unfortunate screenshot from my social media page. And it makes me very sad to see this, because this is two families right here that live in our community that have lost people to COVID. And you can see the gentleman on the right is probably in the age group that we sort of start to think about it being age related, right? I don't know how old this gentleman is, but he's probably, I don't know, around my age, if I had to guess. And then you have these two girls that are so young, so very young. I think as I remember, they were like in their 20s or something. A mom literally lost two of her daughters. I cannot even imagine the sadness and the grief. And those are her words right there. And I thought it was so big of her to share that, you know, I lost my two daughters, and there's certainly risk factors that were there. Obesity is one of them, and she knew it. Also asthma. So my goodness, of course that didn't help. It just compounded it, right? And asthma, there isn't a cure for. She's not going to be able to get rid of asthma, but we could have done something about the weight problem. And the gentleman to the right, he ended up in critical condition and unfortunately also lost his life. And there's a high probability that the correlation there, you know, was again, obesity related. So this is the time. I can't stress that enough. So we're talking about weight loss because it's important. We're talking about weight loss as well. From us, the reason we're talking about it is we have a weight loss program. It's fairly recent. We started it about somewhere around 12 weeks ago. And we decided to bring it here largely because it addresses all of the reasons that we gain weight and all the reasons that we can't keep weight off. And there's very few programs that do that. So I wanted to show you some statistics, and this is the result of them, that most women report symptoms correlating to serotonin deficiency. So when we gave a quiz that's actually on our website, you guys, if you go to that page to do the BMI, you can also take the quiz. And that quiz is really assessing whether you're suffering from a serotonin deficiency. And these are actually the results from our quiz on our website. And so you'll see that in the green, for example, over here, I don't know if you guys can see that at the top, the bar, your toolbar, your toolbar might be covering it, but it's asking about cravings for carbohydrates, okay? And if you notice that 52.2% of the population, that there was 23 responses, you can see that to this quiz, said often that they feel that way. And then look at the stress and emotional eaters, right? So 26% of the people said often. If you look at what people report as often and sometimes, it's about half the pie chart, if not more. Okay, so if we're looking over here, over 80% of the population has cravings for carbohydrates. And then the next set of questions, kind of similar, right? So do you have low energy levels? I'm gonna explain why that happens for people who eat unbalanced portions of carbohydrates. It's going to affect your energy levels in a negative way, which may be counterintuitive to what you're thinking, but it does. And then again, kind of this emotional component down here. So just with our own community, people who've hopped on our website who've taken that, it's clear this is real results. This is what you guys have said. And some of you that are on this call actually did complete this quiz, so your numbers are in there. So I think this is probably the thing that makes the most sense, and that is, why don't we get this toolbar out of my way? Let me see. Why am I getting this tool? One second, guys. Okay, So the number one reason that people gain weight is this, hey, it makes me feel better, or I'm eating my emotions, if you've ever heard anybody say that. And there's a reason for that. There's a real reason for it, and that is this: there's a serotonin that is a chemical, it's a neurotransmitter. It exists in your brain, but it also exists in your gut. And the serotonin is what regulates your mood, your social behavior, appetite, digestion, sleep, memory, and even sexual desire and function. So if we don't have enough serotonin, which can be depleted for many, many different reasons, we turn to this stress eating, stress drinking, boredom eating, cravings for things that give us serotonin, which by the way are carbohydrates. So we're gonna talk more about that. And we get this temporary feel better, because when we eat those foods, we get this serotonin boost, we feel better. And so guess what happens? We want to eat more of those foods. And so it is in fact the vicious cycle, okay? Emotional eating is so akin to a drug addiction that it really, for so many people, it's hard to say this to yourself, but it's okay to say it to yourself, is it kind of isn't your fault. It may have originally been a choice that got you there, but you were craving things for a reason because you have a deficiency. And then the more you ate of them, the more you needed them, because your body literally is becoming addicted. And so it is a real thing. And this is why here we say, listen, it's probably not your fault. So let's just address it. So this is kind of why we also talk about comfort food, right? So we use that word, and if you think about what comfort food is, you know what it is. It's carbohydrates, whether it's starchy carbs, potatoes, potato chips, popcorns, whatever, or sweets. Some people crave one or the other, some people crave both. Whatever the case, it's going to be the thing that stands in your way to losing weight. The other thing that comes along with weight gain and the vicious cycle is our portion sizes. So in America, we know if you go to the restaurant, I mean, my goodness, the portion size that we're fed is crazy most of the time. It's well more than what we should be eating. And then we literally stretch our stomachs to become accustomed to that. And so we don't feel satiated or full unless we're eating these large portions, which our body doesn't need. At the end of the day, what happens is we get in this vicious cycle. We're wanting these carbohydrates, whether it's for energy or mood, and then we get the weight gain on, and then we can't get it off, and you start to feel guilt, frustration, hopelessness, depression, and what happens? You crave more carbs. You start craving them because your serotonin's further depleted by feeling depressed and frustrated, and it literally just keeps going. So here's kind of what we know needs to happen. And we're going to help you through this process when we go through the weight loss program. I'm going to talk more about that. But in a perfect world, this is what we know needs to happen. We need to meal prep and we need to exercise. So meal prepping is not the most fun thing to do, and it takes time. And unfortunately, a lot of us choose the wrong foods, those starchy carbs in particular, because it's easy. So the temptation is to grab the boxed foods, the frozen foods, the fast foods, because they're easy, and we're so busy. Everybody's busy. Kids are about to go back to school. That's going to get even harder, because now we're going to have to shuffle them around, whatever school's going to look like in August. Who even knows what that's going to look like? Different topic. But anyway, it's tough. It's not easy. We also have so many families that have irregular meal schedules. So people are eating at different times. It's, we've long ago lost the sit down and everybody eats together at the table. I mean, it just doesn't happen. And so what we're finding is people are eating the low protein meals, which should be high protein, and they're not. And you actually feel more hungry. You have worse mood, again, talking about that vicious cycle, and weight loss is slowed down. Your metabolism is slowed down. Though, of course, the last thing is how many of us either don't make time to exercise, or we make an excuse why we can't. And sometimes the excuse is, I don't have time. But the reality of it is that with all of that coming together, if you think about what choices we're making, it's very difficult to get the weight off. So what has to change? I say it's 3 things that need to change, and we're going to help you with all of them. Okay, 3 major changes that need to occur in order for you to get to your desired weight loss is you've got to eat right. So it's behavior modification. So the first part of that is portion control. We've got to make sure that you're able to eat the right foods in the right amount of portions, so not overeating. And what we want you to do is feel satiated. We want you to feel full with the right amount of portions. And then we also want you to eat the right foods. So that's the meal planning piece of this, right? And we're going to teach you during the 12-week program, if you so choose to join. During the 12-week program, you're going to have a program guide that is super detailed. That's going to tell you the portions that you're going to eat of each food group, and it's going to help you meal plan. The best part of that is it's real food. We're not going to sell you shakes and bars and all this other stuff that when you quit eating it and you go back to regular food, you go back to your old habits, and now you just gain the weight back. And that's why a lot of those plans don't work. And furthermore, I personally don't think that there's a healthy choice when you're eating stuff that's out of a box. So if you're choosing to do a weight loss program where you're having to do these meals in a box, think about the preservatives that you're eating. And that's, again, that we all know that's not healthy. And the third thing is move. I say exercise, just move more than you move now. So, this is something that I learned a very long time ago, back in the 90s, when I actually worked with a physician that did a weight loss program way back then. And it made so much sense to me. If you are a person who does exercise for a living, or you are a person who does manual work for a living, and you're outside working all day long, and then I say to you, well, you need to exercise, your response would probably be, oh my gosh, I walk 10,000 steps a day in my job. But that's not exercise, that's your norm. Exercise has to be over and above what you're doing now. So if you're sedentary, it doesn't take a whole lot to exercise. Get up and move, okay? And then this fourth thing that I have added to the slide deck since I last did this presentation is supplementation may be necessary. The serotonin supplementation is a critical part of the Serotonin Weight Loss Program that I'm about to introduce to you and how it works. But we're also going to talk about something even better and additive to that. And that's going to be the immune system support that you need right now. So what is the Serotonin Plus program, and how does it work? Well, first of all, I want you to know that it's simple, and I want you to know that it does work. I have at least one person on the call here or on the webinar today that's been through the program. And since I've been talking, several people have joined, so I'm not sure if I have some of the other people that have gone through the program. I'll look at that at the end when I unmute. But I want you to know that 12 weeks ago, we started this program, give or take, and we've had 100% success rate to date. Everybody that's gone through the program has lost the amount of weight that they were looking to lose thus far. Some of them are not completely at the end, but they are on track. And here's why. The first part of the program starts with what we call a medical jump start. So you get fast weight loss because we're going to use a prescription product called Phentermine. And we put that on board because it's going to help you with portion control. In fact, most people who come into this program, the thing that they say is the most difficult to comply with is eating enough. Phentermine is a very effective weight loss drug. It's been around since 1957. It's very safe. When it was combined with another drug into one pill, there was some safety issues. It's long been taken off the market. That pill doesn't even exist anymore. So I don't want you to confuse this with Fen-Phen. It is not. Phentermine is used all around the world, and it's used regularly to curb appetite. So with regard to portion control, that's how we'll address that, all right? Now, we also have somebody that's joined us tonight, and I'm gonna ask her to put her words on this, how she felt about the program, that chose not to do the Phentermine prescription because it affected her sleep a little bit, and she didn't like that. The point I'm saying is the medical jumpstart is great, it's effective, but it isn't even necessary. If you do the other parts of this program, you will still be successful. So even if it's for some reason contraindicated, or you just say, I don't want to use that drug, no problem, we can still do the program. So the second part is to deal with these carb cravings that you have. So we talked about when you're serotonin deficient, you crave these carbs, you get into that vicious cycle. We take care of that by using these patented serotonin supplements. They were created by Dr. Bob Posner, who created the Serotonin Plus Weight Loss Program. They are safe and they are effective, and they are also a multivitamin. They're included in the program as part of the cost of the program, and they're super effective at curbing those carb cravings. So it's going to help you to make better choices about your foods. You're not going to want to crave on those foods. You're not going to feel that desire for them the way that you do now. And then the third thing about this, the third prong approach to this, and I think, again, this is the most important part, is we're going to work on changing your behaviors. And what I mean by that is we're going to do all of this with real foods. You're going to have a detailed guide to go by. It's going to help you meal plan. You're going to know what portions of which things are going to go together so that you can maximize your weight loss. And a lot of people want to know, well, what does it look like? Well, I'll tell you, it's a keto, I say a keto-like dietary schedule. What I mean by that is there's phases in there. The first phase is 2 weeks and you're going to do no carbohydrates. And then after that, we're going to phase those carbohydrates back in. They're not the devil in the right portions. They're the devil in the wrong portions. So, but the best part is you're going to learn how to do this over a 12-week period of time, and you're going to become habitual about your grocery store shopping. So when you go into the store, you know, you always kind of go and you buy the certain things that you buy every week or every 2 weeks when you go. We were going to create new habits so that when you go into the grocery store, you pick up the good things that you need to stay compliant so that you don't gain the weight back, but more importantly, you continue on this track to health and wellness. So that's really, really important. The way that we help you with that across the 12 weeks is every week you'll do a virtual meeting just like we're doing right now via Zoom with a certified nutritionist that is actually in Washington, D.C. and works for Dr. Posner, who is the creator and the founder of the program. So he will be, or his staff will be with you the whole time. So if you're falling short of your weight loss goals, you're going to know right away, and they're going to talk you through it and figure out and diagnose what's not working. And they're going to help you change that. All right. So you have that support the whole way through the program. And then again, just to reiterate, the fact that you're doing this all with real food is how we create sustainable change. So you'll be able to do this for the long term and keep the weight off. So I threw this in here, guys, because I'm not going to go over what all these things said, but this is where I take a lot of information from and validate. But this is a lot of stuff that you can, again, if I send this to you after the program, if you'd like this, you can get all the links by way of the slide deck. Go out there and take a look. This is all relevant to how serotonin impacts weight gain, weight loss. All right. So it's not just me saying it. There's plenty of science behind this. So before I move on, I just want to say that, right there, that's pretty much the weight loss program in a nutshell. Now, I don't see anybody putting anything in the chat box just yet, so I'm going to go ahead and roll on, but I want you guys to hold your questions, okay? Because I'm sure there's going to be questions at the end, and I really want to do that. And I want to introduce to you the next thing that's going on here at Pura Vida, because it's so important. One, it will help your weight loss be even more effective, but more importantly, it is something that's going to really help boost your health at this time where we need it so much. I introduced Brittany to you in the beginning, and I did that because this next section is going to be all Brittany. If you come into Pura Vida to talk about weight loss going forward, you're going to be talking with Brittany. I will always be available, but I'm really passing the torch to Brittany to lead you guys in that. And then the other thing that she's going to be taking on starting August 1st is this, well, let's just put it up there. So we're going to be doing what we call IV nutrition, or really, I like to not call it nutrition because it can confuse people, but we're going to be doing IV vitamin drips. So IV vitamin infusion. So I wanted to say a few words about, why, okay? Even if we don't talk about flu and flu season and cold season, but we know that's upon us. It's coming fast. When is flu season, Brittany? Does it start in September? September, yeah. So it's around the corner. So we want to get you as healthy as you can possibly be before that. So let's talk about why we're not healthy. What impacts our immune system? What drains it? Well, stress. First thing, stress, okay? Stress can be emotional stress. It can be physical stress. It can be both, and a lot of time it is both. So stress ages us internally and it ages us externally. So here at Pura Vida, we have always dealt with the external aging and oxidative stress on our cells that cause us to look older than we should. But now we're going to start addressing it on the inside. And so we're really going to take an inside out approach to not just aging beautifully, but living longer. And so this just makes sense, I think, for us to put this into our repertoire here. So oxidative stress on the cells, so when the cells get stressed, it's called oxidative stress, and they start to break down and become unhealthy. And this is what basically attacks your body and makes it more difficult for you to lose weight. So there's a challenge. It makes it very difficult for your body to detox itself and to stay fit, and by all means to feel energized. So this notion that we all work so hard, and those of you know me personally know I work a ridiculous amount of hours, and to feel exhausted after a work day is not normal. And it isn't. And if you're feeling that, it's because you're lacking in some micronutrients, you're deficient. One master antioxidant, for example, is glutathione. When we stop producing glutathione, which is a part of aging, it's also part of oxidative stress, we start to see wrinkles and pigmentation develop. So yes, again, it is an outside of problem too. But on the inside, it's really affecting our cellular level. And so we are not able to heal thyself. And you guys know that's a big thing for me. I believe that we can heal our bodies. Our bodies were designed by God to leave us on this earth much longer than we do. And it's because of these things that we've already talked about. We don't feed our bodies correctly. We don't treat our bodies like the temples that we should. And but you know what? We can do better. So I have this other thing here that says, you know, it's time to get off the meds. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Not everybody's going to get off every medication, but there are so many things that we can correct and change for the better. If you're taking blood pressure medicine and you're 30 pounds overweight, there's a high probability that we lose 30 pounds, you lose that 30 pounds, you no longer need that medication. And why is that so important? Well, I could go on and on and on about this, but most every medication that we take, particularly the ones for high cholesterol, diabetes, and hypertension, those three, which are the three most common things that happen around being overweight, every single one of the drugs on the market that you take to correct those or to treat those illnesses that you've developed because of your weight deplete your micronutrients. And I have a chart, not here, but I have it, and Brittany will be able to share that information with you if you'd like to come in and have a consult with her. They're actually depleting your micronutrients. So they are literally going to make you sicker over time. Yes, they'll keep protecting your vascular system today, right now. And I'm not suggesting, hey, everybody go off their medicine. This is the opposite. I would never suggest that. But I am suggesting that you can turn it around by becoming healthy. So what we want to do is incorporate the diet. So teach you to eat right. And then we also want to incorporate this notion of IV nutrition or IV vitamins. Okay, so I've listed some of the things right there that are great food choices that are super packed with micronutrients. And I bet everybody already knows it. I mean, you guys kind of know, most of us, what are the right things to eat. But let's just say one thing about IV supplementation. Why IV? Well, if you take vitamins by mouth, lots of people do, you get about 30% at best is absorbed into the bloodstream. So it is minimal. It's minimal. You just can't take enough. And that's assuming, guys, that your gut is working properly. So if you're a person who says, I have IBS, I can tell you right now your gut doesn't work properly. There is no chance you're getting 30% into your bloodstream. When we do IV vitamins, we bypass the gut. So it's super effective. So we brought on board the choice of vitamins that are known as LiquiVida. And it's kind of ironic that that's the name. I didn't name it. That is a trademark name. It has nothing to do with Pura Vida, actually, but it is kind of comical that they have that name. But we chose them, and we chose this vitamin, IV vitamin, for a reason. And I want to share with you what that is. There's several things that came up. So it's not the cheapest one on the market. I'm going to tell you that right now. It's a little bit pricier than some of the others, but I will tell you that it is by far, hands down, superior. So here's why. It's vegan, it's human sterile, and it's sourced by the 503B FDA approved pharmacy. Now that's a lot of words. The basic way for me to explain that to you is it's a third party tested. They go, if to be 503B FDA certified or approved, they are constantly monitored by the FDA. And I'm telling you this because we can get compounded IV vitamin drips from just about any compounding pharmacy anywhere that have none of this regulatory oversight. And I think that that can be dangerous. And I will leave that right there. I, as the owner here, have no desire to put anyone at risk because I can't quantify or qualify the efficacy of what I'm giving to somebody. So we're gonna go with this product for that reason. The other couple of things that I really liked about it is it has the highest vitamin C concentration of anything out there. So in the immune system support drip, for example, you're gonna get 25,000 milligrams of vitamin C. And in the next slide, I'm gonna show you a little something more about that. So just keep that 25,000 in your mind. The other thing about these vitamin D drips is, as I did my research, there's a lot of these places that do this, not so much around Fleming Island, but in other parts of Jacksonville area that are incorporating the vitamins, and then you look and they also have drugs in there. They're drugs in the IV vitamin bag. Well, first of all, that just doesn't make sense to me. But more so, I want to educate you guys on why I feel the way I feel about that. Well, one, now we're putting drugs, what I just told you can deplete micronutrients, okay? So that doesn't make sense, number one. Number two, look at the drug choices. A bunch of these have Toradol and Zofran in them. Well, let me just talk about one of those two. Zofran, if you don't know what it is originally created, and I believe the only FDA approval it has, although don't quote me on that, is for nausea related to chemotherapy. So it is a very good anti-nausea medication in that it works, but this is the most common side effect. This I took right off the internet. You can Google this and fact check it if you like, but they are putting this in there as a hangover remedy, IV vitamin drip. And if you've ever had a hangover, you kind of know the biggest part of your hangover is usually the headache. And they're putting it in there because if you have a really bad headache, you may also have the hangover nausea. So let's give you something for the nausea, which, oh, by the way, creates a headache, which also makes no sense. And the other thing is it's metabolized by the liver. It's excreted through the liver, and there's a risk of liver damage on Zofran. So if somebody is drinking and kind of binge drinking or doing this on even a regular basis, you've already taxed your liver the night before, and now you're putting a drug on board that's going to further tax your liver. To me, this just makes no sense, and that's not what we're going to do here. When you get an IV vitamin drip here, it is an IV vitamin drip, period. There are no drugs in it. So benefits of vitamin C and why I wanted to hone in on the fact that it's 25,000 milligrams. So you guys probably know if you've ever taken Airborne or read the label on Airborne, or what's it, Emergency. There's a few of those products out there that are going to shorten your cold and flu if you get it. And they do work. And I can tell you, I've been a believer of Airborne for many years. If I start to feel, particularly in cold and flu season, I'm a little more susceptible to thinking this way. But you know, if I feel like I'm getting a scratchy throat or anything, I will dose myself with that stuff like crazy before I get sick. And I can legitimately tell you at 50 years old, I have not had a cold or a flu that has made me sick for more than 48 hours in so long I can't remember. So I can't tell you. I don't even know. It's probably been 10 years. So I am a big believer and a proponent of vitamin C and zinc and some other things, but of being on board to help you move through these things quicker. It's also a natural anti-inflammatory, which helps you to feel better. And hey, let's not forget that it's a skin brightener and it's an antioxidant for the skin as well. And that's why we sell you topical stuff here for the skin that's vitamin C related. So it does great things, but check out this slide, guys. So I think this is really important. Hopefully you can see the title up there of this slide. Oops, I keep trying to get the title there, but basically, I think you can see this, and you've probably heard about it. I haven't heard so much lately in the news, but when they were first trying to figure out how to make this COVID thing not as severe, the illness when people get it, you know, there was a lot of talk about the drugs that would help, and then there was a lot of talk about vitamin C. There are naturopathic doctors all over the country that this is how they're treating their patients who choose to take a holistic approach to their wellness, and they are using vitamin C in high doses. So again, we're not claiming here that we're going to cure COVID. We're not claiming here that you're not going to get COVID. We're claiming here that if your body is healthy and your immune system is healthy, you're going to walk through whatever you get this flu season, the common cold, the coronavirus, the flu, whatever you may come in contact with. You want your body to be as healthy as it can be, so you move through this easier. So this is our flyer we just recently put out. I just wanted to say to everyone here, we're going to open up the rest of this to questions here in just a moment. But what we're going to have here is this is the 4 or 5. Is it 5 choice? 5 choices. We've got lots of things that we can do relevant to immunity that I didn't belabor during this call, because it almost lends itself to an entire webinar just around immune system support. So I think that'll be our next webinar. Actually, will be fully dedicated to this topic. So, but let me just tell you, for those that are on the call, you're the first ones really, unless you've seen it hit social media just a little bit, because we've just put some teasers out there. But we are going to be, for the first 20 people who prepay, you're going to get a buy 2 get 1 free deal. You can pick and choose whichever ones you want there. So you can see them to the left. We're going to do a bring a friend, and you get yours 50% off. So you probably don't want to tell your friend that unless you want to split the discount. And then we're going to have some package pricing. The most important thing I want to go over is that we have Brittany, who's a nurse practitioner who comes to us with a very solid healthcare background. She's worked in critical care for quite a while. And so this is definitely her arena, in addition to the aesthetic side. So she will be available all week this week, by the way, if you didn't see it on social media, for even walk-ins to do a free wellness consultation. And that's a great time. There's no charge for that. We've always been a complimentary consult place, and I think we'll probably always be. So feel free to set up a time that's good for you, or, you know, if you're just driving by and you remembered, hey, I remember they were going to do this, pop in. Hopefully she'll be available and can talk with you and learn more. Also, we've revamped our facility. If you haven't been in to see it, we've changed some things around to allow for these additional services, and it looks really pretty. So, so we've really changed things up. So take a look at this as well. This is my last slide. There's some freebies in there, so be sure to talk about this. I will say, if you liked the webinar, even if you didn't, I suppose, if you want to leave a Google review specific to the webinar, we'll give you a $25 gift card here for the spa. There's a couple of different ways here, and the weight loss program is $251 off for everybody who attends this webinar, even if you watch it back, for anybody that may have had to hop off. So that's why we were encouraging people to register. So that's where we are, guys. I think I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now, and I'm going to unmute Phyllis first. And I'm just going to introduce Phyllis here. She was actually one of the very first people to join the Serotonin Plus Weight Loss Program, and she hopped on tonight and took some time, which I appreciate so much, to share her sort of version of how she feels about the program and what it's done for her. And so I will just, Phyllis, you should be unmuted. I'll give you the floor and let you just share with the group whatever you'd like.
Okay. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Okay, so based on the slide presentation that Julie showed, when I first attended one, it just really spoke to the challenges that I was having in my life as it relates to weight loss and how I eat. And so I just felt like, well, this is the right time. This seems like it's the right connection, right person I should hook up with and learn more about it. And believe it or not, I mean, I've been suffering or wrestling and struggling with this wellness since at least half of my adult life. And what it has done for me is I am one of the ones that just chose not to do the cinnamon. And that's because, first of all, I can hardly take NyQuil and without it affecting me. So I'm not really used to my body or my heart racing, and I was up the whole night. And so I chose not to, because by the time I was introduced to this program, my mind was already made up that this is what I wanted to do. And then having a nutritionist to help me, guide me through the actual process. And I am a process person. I don't know a lot about nutrition or health-wise, so I felt like it was going to be good for me to have someone meet with me every week. And that's one of the greatest parts that has helped me. But also, I have not had any cravings for carbs, none whatsoever. As I was just sitting here listening to Julie, I realized that my neck, the back of my neck doesn't hurt anymore. Usually by the end of the day, my neck is so much in pain. It's not there. By the time I usually go to bed, I have backup, food backup. I have not had that. And I didn't realize that until I'm listening to you talk. But the one great change I had to make is the meal planning, because I'm cooking for a total of 3 people. And one, my husband is just not having it, eating right. so it helped me to see that I was past all the temptations. You know, I went in there, I knew my focus, I knew what my goal was, and I'm just determined. So I have not had, and there has been 4th of July weekends and everything, and it has not been a temptation, because I packed everything that I need. I bought the right tools to weigh my food, do everything. So, and I even put the times on my calendar when I need to take my vitamins or the weight loss meal. So it has been great for me. I started June 7th, and I've lost like 15 pounds. And I think we have about 6 to 7 more weeks to go. Last week was when I pulled in the exercising part. I chose not to in the first 3 weeks because I felt the weight that I was carrying, it made me feel so uncomfortable. I mean, to me, it was more of a challenge. It was more of a stress on me. But last week, I felt the energy as I worked out. And I also now, because of the heat, I don't do the treadmill anymore, but I have a DVD that I can play inside my room here. And it's like 24 minutes burn. So I'm doing that. Everything is like convenient for me. It works because I've had all the tools before, but I just couldn't follow through with them. But everything on the list that I should not have been eating, I was eating. And I was eating too much of it. But now, you know what? I have not left phase 1 yet, because I don't even need the rest of the stuff. I will work my way in, but I don't have a desire for them. So I'm excited.
That's really amazing. I'm glad you shared that, Phyllis. And so for those of you that don't know what phase 1 means, phase 1 is the no carb phase. And so again, it does sound like a keto diet, and it is. It basically is a keto style diet as far as and I really hate to even call it a diet because it's a lifestyle, it's a way to eat. And you can stay in phase 1 to maximize your weight loss. So, I mean, we have people who've come to the program who actually train other people. They're exercise trainers who have gained weight. And so imagine that, right? If they can gain weight from eating the wrong ways, somebody who's like me, who doesn't exercise regular, I'm ashamed to admit, I mean, keeping the weight off can be very, very hard. And thanks for sharing that, Phyllis, because that's the advantage of having that virtual visit weekly that she's talking about, because they will help guide you. And if you want to stay in phase 1, there is nothing unhealthy about that at all, and it will maximize your weight loss. Some people do that. They want a little bit more of a balanced approach. I will say style to this diet. The one thing I will clarify is it is a low protein, low carb. High protein, low carb, lean protein is what I meant. Lean. So this is not the Atkins diet. We're not going to have you dump in butter in your coffee. That's a different type of program. That's not what we do. We are really going to maximize your health. So it's going to be lean proteins. We'll teach you what lean proteins are. And we're going to definitely teach you what carbs are, because that's definitely was a challenge for Phyllis, because there was some things she thought she was doing right. No, that's not, wrong category. It's a carb. So yeah, thanks for sharing that, Phyllis. I really appreciate it. I'd like to open the floor, if I can, to open up the microphones here so everybody has an opportunity to ask any questions. I'm going to check the Q&A box real quick. I don't see anybody has used the chat box. So we're going to give this a shot and see if we can unmute everyone. You'll just kind of be careful to try not to talk over each other. And hopefully we can get any questions out there. So I'm going to let everybody talk, and hopefully we don't get too much background noise. So, okay. Rita, for some reason, I'll just tell you that it looks like you're using an older version of Zoom, and it's not allowing me to let you talk. So you might have to use the chat box. So the rest of you should, hold one second. Let me make sure everybody's unmuted. Why is this? Why are they not unmuting? Some of you may have, you might have muted yourselves. If anybody muted yourselves, you can mute. Okay.
And Julie, can I add something too?
Yes, go ahead.
You know, you made a comment about, you know, we're doing this weight loss with, so it's not like I gotta change the foods that I'm eating. You know, sometimes you get on diets and well, then you start adding a lot of different foods with it. I mean, I'm trying to say is I'm experiencing the weight loss by developing a new eating. So I will never have to change this. You know what I mean? It's now my new norm.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're shooting for. That's exactly the plan. And that's how you keep, this is why it's sustainable. This is how you can keep the weight off over the long term. So I see Raquel is unmuted. Did you have a question, Raquel?
Well, I wanted to ask you, I got in late, so I missed the first part of it, but I think you had mentioned that there was phentermine or phenterol that you take with this program. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because that's kind of made me a little nervous when I heard about that.
Yes, absolutely. So, and we covered this a little bit. So I will speak to this, and then I'll also let Brittany, our nurse practitioner, who's going to be in charge of this program. Raquel, I know you joined later, so you didn't get to meet her, and she's sitting next to me, so I'll turn the camera in a moment.
Okay.
Phentermine, there is people who have had a bad feel about it, and here's why. So phentermine has actually been on the market since 1957. It has been proven safe for many years. It's a very, very popular and used across the world as an appetite suppressant. It's very effective, and it's very safe. The only time it was unsafe, and what usually gives it the bad rap, is, I don't remember, I want to say it was back in the, I don't know, I don't remember when anyway, it was a good number of years ago. They took phentermine and they put it along inside another tablet. I don't even know what the other drug was, but they basically made it a combination drug, and it was called fen-phen. The two drugs, when combined, were synergistic in a bad way, and people did get hurt from it. And it caused, I think, some severe hypertension and some other things. Am I right? Brittany's nodding, so I'm saying the right thing. And so when it was fen-phen, and fen-phen is not even on the market, it was taken off for that reason, but it was two drugs combined that made it unsafe. By itself, it's very safe. So it works very well to control appetite. and it helps to boost the metabolism. We do a full, and I'm glad you brought this up, Raquel, because I did not mention this in the talk here, but before you come into this program, you're going to have a full consultation that includes a health evaluation. So that's going to include lab work. We're going to look at your labs to make sure there's nothing preventing you from losing weight. And so we're going to look at your lab work. We're going to look at an EKG to make sure your heart is healthy. And we do that in part to make sure that there's nothing underlying that would put you at risk for being on an appetite suppressant. And there's another thing to say about that. If you've ever drank too much coffee and you get the jitters, that's usually what people might report. If it's interfering with sleep in the first week, that can be a problem for some people. Out of the first group of people that we put into the program, Phyllis, who's on the call here, is the only one who said, you know what, I don't like that, and I'm not going to do it. And I think this is the most key part of that is Phyllis is doing fine without the phentermine. So sensitive to it, we adjust the dose first. If you still feel like you don't want it on board, we just don't do it. And you will do fine with the program. I don't know when you joined, but Phyllis said, I don't have those carb cravings anymore. That's not from the phentermine. That's from the serotonin supplements and her doing meal planning and detoxing her body from that bad, vicious cycle of carb eating. So she's fine with the phentermine. So I always encourage people to give it a try. And if we deem it safe for you, which almost always is the case. And then, you know, if you feel like it's not a fit for you, it doesn't matter. It's not going to prevent you from losing the weight. It's not going to prevent you from completing the program. It's, you know, in that regard, there's no reason to hold back. And especially if you look at all the benefits that you get from, you know, getting the weight off. So, Brittany, do you have any, I'm going to turn the camera. Brittany, do you have anything else to add about the safety center?
So with the safety, what I want y'all to understand, Raquel, I think you were the one actually asking the question possibly, is medically supervised. So this isn't going to be a medication that I'm going to prescribe to you and then you're just on your own. We're going to monitor it very, very closely, all the way down to your blood pressure. For women, make sure that there's a negative pregnancy test. There's a lot of different things involved, but it's just to aid you if you are the type of person that has a portion control problem. It's not something that's going to make or break this program. You're going to lose weight. Do you have any other questions or concerns regarding the phentermine after what Julie and I have said?
No, you guys have explained it perfectly. I feel very comfortable with that now. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions, particularly for Brittany, since I did all the talking in the beginning anyway? Okay. So if we don't have any other questions, here, I'll try to get us both in here. If we don't have any other questions, we can wrap this up. You guys, you're more than happy to send me an email and I will send you the PowerPoint slide deck if you just a reminder, particularly for those that did join late, and there were a couple of you. Oh, we've got some questions in the box. Hold on. I do have a question. Hang on. Let's see. So hold that thought, guys. Rita, I know we can't get you unmuted, and I don't know why. It's still giving me an error message. So if you have that question and we can get it in the chat box, I'm happy to try to get that answered for you. And Phyllis, do you still have a question?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, for the IV nutrition vitamin drops, is that exactly what it's saying? You're gonna put an IV in me to get the drops?
So I will place an IV in you, or we have another employee here that can help with that. But yes, you are going to have an IV inserted into your arm, and it will be an actual IV infusion.
And how often is that done?
So that's going to be tailored to patient specific. Generally, most patients, 2 a month maximum is a pretty deep start, but 1 a month is completely okay as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you're wanting to come in every week, I'm going to have to hold up a little on that one.
Okay. Okay.
Did Rita get there?
Yeah, I got, yeah.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Let's see, we've got another question in the chat box. Does your exam have to be the same day each week? Okay.
For the nutritionist?
Great, thank you. That's okay. So I've got Desiree, I believe is the question. If you don't mind, I'll repeat your question so everyone can hear it. I think she was asking about the Zoom virtual meeting. Does it have to be the same every week, same time or same place? No, it really doesn't. So back to what Brittany said a moment ago, the phentermine, we actually will only give you your week supply each week. Unless you live out of town and that's inconvenient, then we can do some dating of the prescriptions. But we do monitor that very closely. So we want to make sure that you are making your virtual appointments. It's important. It's an important part of the process. Phyllis shared with you, it's the process that's made her successful. So we want you to stick to the process, but you got lots of flexibility with the Zoom meeting. We have a couple people that did a few Zooms here in our office. They just felt more comfortable. And we can accommodate that, or you can just do it from home. You'll make your appointment with the nutritionist each time you have your call. So when you make your first nutritionist Zoom call, each time you have that, you go next appointment times and set it up what's convenient for you guys.
And it's only 15 minutes.
Correct. Do you want to address the, so Lisa, hi. So that's a great question because it's a super common problem, particularly around losing weight. So if you have a thyroid condition or no thyroid at all, if you're on Synthroid or other medications to supplement thyroid, yes, you can do this program and it still works. And we have a lady, in fact, that comes to mind too. As a matter of fact, one came in and actually didn't know she had a problem with her thyroid dosage, meaning she was thyroid, but it was her thyroid was very out of whack. We discovered that because we did the pre-screening laboratory work, and we sent her to get that her medication adjusted by her primary care physician. She is in the program. She's got about 3 or 4 weeks left in the program. She is still on track to lose. The average loss is 30 pounds in 12 weeks. And she's right on track to that. So even with, having some things that are holding her back, she's doing very, very well. So yeah, it's okay to do the program if you're on those medications.
And there is no drug interaction between Synthroid and phentermine. The question was related to whether or not you could use the phentermine due to taking Synthroid. That is okay. Synthroid is a medication that you want to take by itself prior to food. So we wouldn't take the medication together with phentermine, but there's no actual drug interaction between them.
Okay. Anybody else have some questions? I don't see anything new in the chat box. Okay. If we don't have anything else, I just want to wrap up by saying thank you so much for being on here. I would love your feedback, whether you wanted to shoot an email or leave us a Google review, either one. I'd love your feedback. Tell us what you liked about this or didn't like about it. We really think it's helpful to help just be educating people, particularly around the IV vitamin infusion. That's definitely new in our area in Fleming Island community. We've had really good, results in Clay County regarding people not being as sick in our county with COVID in particular, but we really want to educate people that we have options to keep you healthy. Weight loss is one of them. This IV vitamin infusion and getting your immune system boosted. It's super important right now, and we really want to offer that. So if you think it's not a right fit for you, probably somebody it is. Many of us are overweight, and there's a lot of us that do have concerns about having our immune systems healthy right now. So we'd love for you to share with your friends and your family as well. Pricing, I might say that since I said share with friends and family, keep in mind here at Pura Vida, regardless of what it is, it could be a package of massages or a package of IV vitamin drips, but you can share those packages. So you can buy a larger package, get a bigger discount, and then split it with a friend or split it with your spouse or whatever. So sometimes people like to do that to get the savings. So that's an option. But again, I just wanted to recap that Penny's going to be here all week, available. She is here with us full time. She is also our aesthetic injector as well. You need your Botox. We do that too. And but right now, her biggest focus is meeting. We're gonna take walk-ins for that. There's consultations. She'll do a health assessment with you, answer any questions you have. We also do virtual consults. So if you can't get away to come in and meet her in person, and you like that, just let us know, call us, text us, or email us, and we will set up a virtual time that's convenient for you, and we'll do it just like this, one-on-one. And you guys can go over most that also.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you guys will get a confirmation of the recording after. I think it comes out about 48 hours from now. If you want to watch this back and you don't receive it, you guys just reach out to me and I'll make sure that I get it to you, okay? No other questions? We'll sign off and say goodnight. Thank you so much for everybody who attended. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.